Hey guys, my name's Nick. I'm a Microsoft Certified Expert Administrator. I create a lot of content for MSPs, and in today's video, this is part one of a three-part series I've created here to show you guys everything about the new Microsoft 365 Business Voice offering. So in this three-part series, I'll be going of an overview of what exactly this is and what it entails, what's included. This just came out on April 1st, 2020 into the US. It's already been available in Canada and the UK. This is going to be pretty big for the SMB space, and in this video I will be covering all the licensing, pricing, and features, the architecture guidelines that you should have when you're creating call queues, call auto attendants, and then I'll be demoing this out so you can see the admin experience and the end user experience as well too. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the major features, licensing models, everything like that. This is a slide directly from Microsoft where they're just reflecting on the shifts in the existing landscape from the employee mindset. So we've moved from a on-prem device with a hard phone connected to our telephone provider to being able to call from any device at any location. We want to have unified communications in the sense of video conferencing, chat, and calling all in one spot. Moving billing models, you move from a CapEx model to an OpEx model to try to save costs over time or have at least more predictable billing model. And then obviously, the more you can consolidate into a single provider, the more simplistic the solution is, both from a billing, procurement, provisioning standpoint for you as the MSP as well. So we talk about all-in-one communication. So when you have Teams Voice, you have the ability to chat directly with people within your organization or externally. You can video conference. It's directly integrated with your Outlook environment. So you can schedule meetings and hop on meeting bridges all from that one location. And then tying in the voice aspect of this, you can start to do dial-out plans so that you can call users either internally or externally to the organization. And you have all this integration with native apps that may be used within the company that are proprietary, or could be something where you're just using the Planner app, for instance, for project management work. So within Teams now you have the central location for all of your meetings, your calls, your chats, and then also file sharing as well too. You can co-author documents directly within Teams, and you have your Teams sites is set up as well too from a document library standpoint, which house all these documents so you can keep up with any version control requirements that the company may have. And then lastly, we touched on the apps and workflows. So you can integrate these apps right on the top toolbar here that you see so that you can have a single pane of glass to do all of your work. So Teams as your phone here, everybody's had the calling tab added to their Teams environment. But when you have the actual PSTN lines available to you as well too, you have this experience of being able to see your contacts, you have your voicemail, you have your dial pad directly within the Teams app. This is both on a hard device such as your laptop, but also on your cell phone as well too. So it's an integrated experience in that way. Teams integrates directly with major telco or hard device providers, and that includes Polycom and Yalink. So you can do that as well, which I'll be showing you here in a second. And then you can manage the call forwarding settings, so you can have it directly go to voicemail. You can forward it to an external number. You can do a lot of things as far as the end user experience goes. So these are the basic features right now that are out. This is pretty up to date here. This is probably within the past month as far as the features go. You may want to take a screenshot of this right now, but the biggest thing as far as advice goes for the MSP is to really do that discovery with the end user, whether or not they've had an existing telephone provider and they're having a call tree that they use to route the calls that come in to different departments throughout the organization or anything like that, or if they've primarily just been having their own individual lines, but they've gotten to a state where they need some type of cloud architecture in the sense of phone tree routing. So the biggest things that you see here that I feel like are lacking from the MSP standpoint that you guys would want is one, SMS texting. This is in public preview right now to certain users that are part of the Microsoft's TAP program, but it's not generally available yet with no ETAs on being generally available, but that's been a major ask from a lot of customers. The other piece is multi-tenant management. So this is a single tenant portal to manage one customer at a time. It's a bit of a deal breaker for some MSPs who want to simplify the management across all of their customers in one spot. And then lastly, call recording is non-existent today. So this is one other feature that I see come up a lot that you guys may want. But definitely come in and evaluate these features with your customers and then move from there as far as what you want to do. From the licensing standpoint here, we've shifted from this model that was highly confusing in the sense of having E1 through E5 plans as a baseline. You had to have an enterprise plan, and then you had to bundle in these other SKUs, which potentially were 2 to 4 additional SKUs depending on what you were trying to offer. So at the very minimum, you needed a phone system, which was your PBX routing for your call lines, the cloud PBX system. You had audio conferencing, which gave you that meeting bridge with a dial-in number as well. And then you had your calling plans, which is your PSTN lines, $12 for domestic, and then $24 for domestic and international. So it was highly confusing to think about, 4 different licenses you had to assign to a user to get them up to speed on the licensing that you would need. So we shifted into this business voice model, and this is the US pricing and plan information here. So it's $20 a user a month, and it comes with phone system, audio conferencing, and domestic calling with 3,000 minutes per user per month. If you wanted to add international, it's an additional $12 per user per month, and this is up to 300 seats. And it's, as it shows here, you just need some prerequisites such as a business plan to be able to bolt this onto. Take note, these names just recently changed, which is confusing too. But Business Premium has now become Business Standard, I believe, and then Microsoft 365 Business is now Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So just take note of that, and these are the Canadian pricing model. If you want to take a screenshot of that, if you have Canadian customers or you're in the Canadian market, and the same for UK here as well too. So like I said, those have been out a little bit longer, but US just came out on April 1st. The big differences here though is just the amount of pooled minutes you get with the calling plans themselves. So focusing on the US here, you have 3,000 minutes per user per month, but it's pooled across the tenant. So if you have 5 users like it's showing here, you do have a total of 15,000 minutes available in the tenant. And then for the UK, you have 1,200 minutes per user per month. So if you have 5 users, you have 6,000. The international calling plan, if you add that on, it gives you another 600 minutes per user per month. So it's, again, just pooled across the environment there. So the question comes up, like, what if I exceed that amount, which is where communication credits come into play. So you can think of this just a debit against the account. You put in a certain dollar figure and you're charged at a meter per minute cost, anything over the pooled amount of minutes you have per month. So in the US, this is just a cent per minute, and it's good to have like a little cushion in there just so you don't run out of minutes and you're scrambling to get this together. But you can go ahead and just order this and have a couple $100 in there just to be able to have any overages deducted from that. So lastly here, from the standpoint of licensing and pricing, this is another slide direct from Microsoft where they're just referencing, hey, we're giving this to you for $20 a user per month, and it's bundled with Teams, so you are getting that unified experience of file sharing, of chat, of video conferencing, all of these things, the app integration, which if you're looking at a third-party provider solutions to bundle this together, you're looking at over $64 of these third-party solutions versus the 20 here. Now the accuracy of this statement as far as the cost goes, I can't for sure say, but when you're looking at it, it does give you a lot of value for the pricing that you have there. And you do, if you are a silver or gold competency partner, you will get more kickbacks because they are trying to incentivize partners to buy these plans right now. So as far as devices goes, we have a lot of integrations with hard devices as well, not only in personal devices like headsets and the desk phones, things like that, but also with meeting rooms. So you have the conference room phones, and you can set up Teams rooms for meetings so that they're recorded. You have a central camera in that room to collaborate with external participants. Those ones are pretty cool, especially the interactive whiteboard as well too with the Surface devices. But additionally here, this is more so what people are interested in, just hard phone integrations. So they've partnered with Yalink and Polycom, some of the top providers there, to provide you Teams phones. So they're already directly integrated. You can set them up pretty easily. And so again, beyond just the hard phone, you have that soft phone experience too with your cell phone, and you can transfer the calls back and forth between the two devices, which is really cool. As far as the calling integrations goes, there's really two basic architectures that are available within Microsoft Teams Voice. So you have, everything in the cloud with Microsoft, where you have your PBX and your calling plans that are procured from Microsoft or billed from Microsoft. But let's say you have an existing contract with another telecom provider where you're getting your PSTN lines, and that's not up for another year, a couple months. You can create what's called direct routing, and you are going to be using the calling plans you have existing to be able to port those numbers over and set up this architecture so that you can still route calls to the Microsoft PBX from that existing phone line. Or you can go ahead and set up an architecture if you have your own hosted on-prem solution with a SBC, and you have your PSTN network that you're using to route from Microsoft all the way across. So those are two common considerations. I'm not going to be covering the direct routing architecture in these sessions. I'm primarily just going to focus on cloud-based, but I just want to let you guys know that it is available for you. As far as the architecture planning goes, this is just an example of a common auto attendant, and auto attendants are going to be, the main line you call in, of which you're routed and getting prompts on to be routed within the organization. So this is something where I encourage you guys to do a lot of planning before you start to set up and play around with actually setting this up within the Teams Admin Center or across the wizard. So this is something where you can create different call queues for departments, things like that. But in the sense of a discovery here, you really want to take an existing record of their phone architecture. Again, this could be for an existing client that does have one, or somebody who is just wanting to start a phone queue in a call tree to go ahead and start routing calls. A good recommendation as far as an exercise goes is to have the operator or the receptionist record all the calls that come in on a couple-day period and understand and give you an understanding of where they're being transferred to, who's taking the most calls as far as volume goes, get an understanding of the business hours, everything like that, so you have a fundamental understanding of how they want this to work. So as far as the guidelines goes, you want to have alternative greetings for business hours, after hours, and holidays. You want to separate out the set of nested auto attendants for secondary language if you are going to support that. You want that to be in a different queue itself, so you just have that all as far as one language separated. You want to use the most frequently called in on options first, obviously just to minimize the time that somebody's waiting through this queue to get where they need to be. Create a flow chart. It's best to analyze this with the customer and get it approved before you set up that architecture. And then have the menu repeat at least once. So most cases, somebody may go through the entire queue and hear an option, but they're not sure if they want it or not, and they need to hear it again. It can do this up, as far as the repeat goes, up to 3 times. I would recommend to do it at least one more time. And additionally, I'll link this in the bottom here too. This is a great discovery questionnaire that you can do as an exercise with the particular customer. So the discovery tab here shows you basic high-level open-ended questions to understand what their architecture looks like today, what kind of pain points they have, how complex it is, to see if Teams actually would be a good solution. And then the teamwork questions here, you have the ability to run through this with the client and assess whether or not they've implemented something or they want to implement something, and then the associated priority with that. So is this a high priority for them, or is this low, if they do want to do it in the future? And by doing so, it populates this results tab with this matrix, so you get a better idea and you can present this to the customer of what kind of maturity they are for certain categories like organizational intelligence, leadership connections, intelligent communications, and then also what kind of priority they are setting for that as well too. Obviously, I've just populated this with fake data, so it's all kind of centered around here, but you will see this sprawl across the different quadrants here as you go through this with the customer. Lastly, the do not guidelines, for now at least, I would not create more than 5 nested auto attendants. So this just gets complex for the end users who are trying to call in. They're getting highly frustrated by going through multiple layers to try to get to where they need to be routed to. So obviously you want to keep it as simplistic as you can. So as far as the features goes, you guys will see this in part 2, where we're actually setting this up in part 3, where I go through the end user demo. But I wanted to highlight these here just to be part of this video. You have your call history here that you can see directly within the Teams app, incoming, outgoing, and missed calls. Call history, it's all available there. Device switching, you can switch on speaker, microphone, headsets. You can switch between your physical computer and your soft phone or hard phone. So this is pretty customizable there. You can do it during the call, before the call, it doesn't matter. It's allowing you that flexibility to switch at any time. Call handling, you can escalate calls, you can put a call on hold and pull up somebody that you can transfer this to, either warm transfer, cold transfer. Whenever you pull them up, you can transfer directly to their work line or directly to their voicemail. Additionally, it allows you to chat before you transfer, so that's more of a warm transfer, but allows you to communicate with that person in chat in an integrated experience before you actually send that call over. And then as far as call forwarding goes, you have the ability to forward calls directly to your voicemail. If you're out of office, you can forward to a group of people. You can forward to an external number that may be outside of the organization if you wanted to set that up. And you can also set up your voicemail greeting as well too. As far as the transfer to PSTN and distinctive ring, whenever you go to transfer a call, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody within the Microsoft tenant. You can type in a number and transfer them, whether or not you're in the app on the computer or on your cell phone, which is really cool. And then you can set up distinctive ringtones as well for certain users that are calling in. So a common example of this would be you want a ringtone for your work employees that are calling you versus your direct customers, so you know that those may be something more important that you need to answer. You're prepping yourself ahead of time. Federated calls, this was the #1 ask from customers to Microsoft, but federated calling allows you to call one another over VoIP free of charge, and you can set this up with external organizations like you're seeing here. Delegation and consultative transfer, this is more so for EAs, things like that, where you want them to be able to take incoming calls or make calls on behalf of other people within the organization. You can set this up with one or many people, and this can be set up by the delegate in their environment or by the manager or by you as the admin. So it's layered as far as the ability to be able to set this up. And you can forward calls to the EA if the executive is out, and you can do simultaneous rings. So maybe if the executive is busy, the EA picks up on their behalf. Additionally, here you can forward to a group, so you can set up a call group of people within the organization, and you can have them simultaneously ring in an attendant fashion or serial fashion, where it's hitting one person at a time for a certain amount of seconds. Or you can do round robin, which calls them, in a round robin fashion equally over time. And you have group call pickup capabilities as well too here, which I'll show you in a dashboard here in a second. But before we get to that, I want to show you call park. So call park allows you to park the call and grab an ID. This is in a scenario where you're not sure who can answer this question potentially that you're getting, or what department this should be routed to. You can ping a few people in Teams chats or wherever it may be to see who that's routed to. That person can pick up that code and accept that call on behalf. So the shared line appearance, this just gives you the ability for a call queue, for instance, where you can see every active call going on right now. You can invite other people to take calls, and you can manage everything that's coming in. So you can see who's busy, who's available. You can resume a call that's been put on place by a manager, like it's showing there as well too. So the experience from the call queue standpoint is really good, and it's very visible from within Teams here, what's all going on in that queue at a certain point in time. So that's everything I had for this particular first session here for you guys. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them below. The next session I'll be getting into is around the full demo in the sense of the admin features, setting up call queues, call auto attendants. And like I said before, guys, if you have interest in this or if you want to see more content related to this, please like or subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.